We have breaking news as the Rockets have just pulled off another heist, signing Dorian Finney-Smith to a 4-year deal, all according to Shams Charania. We tell you why this was such a big steal and so much more on this deal right here on Rockets Digest. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you joining us. This right here is why you subscribe. When breaking news happens, we are the first to get it out to you, and yet 77, almost 78% of you are not subscribed yet. What are you waiting for? Join the fastest growing Houston Rockets community on YouTube today by hitting that red subscribe button and making sure you miss no more breaking news about the Houston Rockets. Here's the tweet. Shams Charania the Rockets started off free agency with a bang, saying free agent forward Dorian Finney-Smith has agreed to a 4-year, $53 million deal with the Rockets. This is all according to ESPN. Finney-Smith's agent, Michael Tellem of XL Sports, negotiated terms of the deal tonight with the Rockets executives for the 3-and-D wing. I want you to immediately give me a one-word reaction to this signing. Is there a word you have? I'm excited. I think this is a good signing. I'll tell you why. Plus, on top of which, the contract is actually pretty decent. He wanted years. He got the 4 years at a little bit low of a price. He was owed about $14 million this upcoming season if he had opted into his contract with the Los Angeles Lakers. He chose to opt out. Instead, he got a 4-year deal worth about $13.25 million per year. So, going to be a little bit less than what he was going to be paid with Los Angeles. However, he does get more of a long-term guarantee for his career. And a couple of things to note from Shams Charania. He says a major acquisition to bolster Houston's wing depth. Finney-Smith, who shot a career-high 41% from three-point land and held all-star players to 47% effective shooting in half court, which ranked top 10 among players to defend 125-plus shots last season. DFS is a 3-and-D guy to the absolute core. And we'll get into it in a moment, but the big reason why I call this such a steal is because he is basically a Dillon Brooks replacement. And that's what we kind of talked, not we talked about, what Shams Charania talked about in one of his latest ESPN reports. He actually said this on SportsCenter earlier today, saying, quote, "They traded Dillon Brooks, that position of that 3-and-D wing defender, and I'm told the Rockets' priority is going into free agency starting tonight, finding that player that can essentially sub in and replace him." Well, they did a fantastic job finding the perfect guy for it. Now, the stats for DFS are, they're pretty good. 8.7, his field goal percentage, his three-point percentage were up this year. He's 32 years, so you're going to have a 4-year deal. You're getting him to his age 36 season, so definitely going to be an older guy when we get up there, but I would expect this contract to be a trade within the next 2 years after that, so I don't know if he'll be here for the entire term of that contract, but for the Rockets who are in win-now mode, this is the perfect guy to come out here and essentially replace Dillon Brooks with. And I'll give you a little bit of a side-by-side. So here's DFS's stats, and here is Dillon Brooks' stats. The three-point percentage is up for DFS, but the points per game are up for Dillon Brooks. Now, Dillon Brooks had more of a starting role with the Houston Rockets more than, DFS played a lot with the Lakers. I guess I can't really say that, but I do believe that the points per game was not exactly what they were looking for, but more of the defensive effort that we saw from Dillon Brooks and DFS. Obviously, kind of looking at them, pretty much every other stat is really, really comparable. The field goal percentage and three-point percentage is up for Dorian Finney-Smith, but the points per game were up for Dillon Brooks. That's about the only difference between those two players in some ways, because overall their defense relatively the same. And I kind of saw this tweet from Bredo, I believe is the way you pronounce it, but this morning, it was very obvious the Rockets were interested in Dorian Finney-Smith. We had a video on it. If you haven't gone and seen it, I guess there's a point to go see it now to kind of see what we said before, but you can kind of see what we were talking about. And he had this morning saying, assuming that DFS is a Rocket, Houston will have 3 of the best non-big rim defenders in the league next season. Non-big being obviously center. Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Dorian Finney-Smith. And in that case scenario, if you want to see the rankings, here you go. The best defenders that were not bigs in the NBA at the rim, Amen Thompson was number 3. Kevin Durant was pretty close behind him at number 8. And then Dorian Finney-Smith was number 9. So that's a pretty good thing to replace Dillon Brooks with, because overall, we know the identity of this Houston Rockets team has long been the defense, and Ime Udoka has continued to preface that and say that in these reports and saying that, listen, the offense was definitely suspect last year. That makes sense. But defense is still the role of this team. It's still the identity of this team. So going out there and getting somebody like a DFS kind of fits in pretty perfectly with this squad. And so now I don't know how many more moves the Rockets have left in them, to be quite honest, because if you look at the contract space that they had, this was about the only move that they could make. They had about $13 to $14 million, unless they make a big trade later on down the line for a Derek White, Jaylen Brown, even a Giannis maybe. I don't know. I doubt that there's going to be much going on for the Houston Rockets offseason in some ways, but we've seen crazier things. They still have some money left. But overall, here is a look at the Rockets. Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Şengün are your starting five. And then on the bench, you've got Tari Eason, Dorian Finney-Smith, Steven Adams, and Reed Shepherd. I'm telling you, this team is very, very good. You can think what you think about Jalen Green, you can think what you think about Dillon Brooks, but you cannot sit here and say that this team is not better than it was when the season ended against the Golden State Warriors back in May or whatever. This is a better team. And not to mention, you look at that starting five, and I would put that up against every starting five in the NBA. I think there was very few that would beat that starting five. The only one I could think of is maybe the Thunder probably would be the best one that I maybe could put in there with them. Besides that, I can't really think of a starting five that is better. Now, granted, I'm a Rockets guy. I'm a little biased, but at the same time, Alperen Şengün is going to take a major leap this season. Amen Thompson has been labeled by NBA executives, by GMs, by even media members to have a ginormous breakthrough season in this upcoming year, and you just signed a Dillon Brooks replacement, mind you, for cheaper value. That is a huge thing. Dillon Brooks was going to be a little bit more money. They're similar in age. I mean, obviously, DFS is a little bit older at about 32 years old to Dillon Brooks being 29. But at the same time, they're relatively a very similar player. I mean, again, going back and forth. Heights, similar, they're very, very similar. And having a guy like DFS who, again, can be here for 4 years is an interesting contract. Now, do I think those 4 years are going to be the entirety of the contract spent with the Houston Rockets? No, probably not. I really don't think so, because if you look at the upcoming contracts for certain players, obviously you got the extension with Jabari Smith Jr. There's going to be some money on the table for Amen Thompson soon. Kevin Durant has specifically said he's going to take less money on his upcoming contract, where the Rockets this year, if they can win, the great. Obviously, that's what they want. But if for whatever reason this year it's not enough, there's a good chance next year they're going to have more money to spend in free agency. Whereas this year, Kevin Durant's making $55 million, and that's a lot of money. And considering you're paying $20 million to a Dillon Brooks, and now you just replaced him with a guy who's similar in stature, similar in stats, 3-and-D win defender, the comparisons are kind of crazy. And he's $13.25 million. That's such a big win for Rafael Stone. I can't even put it into words how much I have loved the moves that Rafael Stone has made, because let's just, before we get done with this show, kind of go through this offseason and what it's looked like up until this point, where the Rockets maybe are done, maybe they're not. We don't know. There still could be some trades, some moves that they could definitely go after, and there's still going to be a talk of the offseason with what they've done. But kind of starting from the beginning, you sign Steven Adams to a 3-year contract. You get your backup center so that you have that double big lineup potential for this upcoming season as well. That's step one. You then get Ime Udoka on a long-term contract extension to make him one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA, and you keep a guy who has had championship-level teams. He obviously had it with the Celtics, and now has come here, and within 2 years has turned a 21-win team into a 500 team, into a second-place 52-win team, into a championship contending team in this upcoming season. After that, you talk about the trade for Kevin Durant, the extension, or rather I should say change of contract for Fred VanVleet, getting down some solid bench players in Aaron Holiday, Jason Tate, and Uncle Jeff Green. Now you get Dorian Finney-Smith. I've mentioned it, you also extended Jabari Smith Jr. Rafael Stone has been absolutely cooking the NBA, and now it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time until we get to see this team that we've been talking about and building the hype up in our heads. And we're going to continue to get to be excited and build hype around for the next 2 months. And we're going to get to see that come together. And we're going to get to see this team compete for an NBA championship straight up. I don't think that's a biased thing to say. The Rockets are an NBA championship caliber team. And I'm so excited to see what they can do on the hardwood this year. And I hope you are too. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section. Is this a signing that you like? Do you think I'm overreacting? Do you think this is something that the Rockets didn't need? I was hesitant on it, but the more I looked at it and the more I kind of saw what exactly the Rockets' plan was for DFS, I got more on board. And I can see kind of the vision in the future for this Rockets team with it. And guess what? They kept Cam Whitmore. So Cam's going to stay here, and I kind of see him being that number 2 shooting guard and potentially making Reed a point guard. We'll see what happens. But that's what I could see. I think Jock Landale is going to get cut here on July 7th. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him at this point, but who knows? There could be a trade. We'll keep you updated. Make sure you're subscribed for any and all updates that happen. Free agency has just started, and there is still some moves for the Rockets to be made with some veteran minimum contracts and certain stuff that they could do. But for now, we will talk to you in just a little bit. We'll see you next time here on Rockets Digest. I appreciate everybody watching. Peace out, guys.